Yo, what is up guys? It is Bumfris, back with episode 39 of our Reddit series. We're mixing it up again with some malicious compliance, and I have a feeling you're gonna love this one. I'm not gonna hop on too much because we just started, but we hit 100,000 subscribers today, and I cannot thank every single one of you enough. You're all amazing, and I really can't express how much I appreciate you all. Now, just sit back, relax, and laugh at some malicious compliance. So, since some 11,000 people liked my last story of malicious compliance at work, have another. At the time, I worked at a cafe set over 3 floors, so my day generally consisted of 10 hours running up and down stairs. I had slipped on some motor oil in the car park on my way home, and my ankle had bent underneath me. I had initially assumed I just twisted it, but several hours later it was still throbbing, as well as swelling up so much that it looked like I was hiding a pair of golf balls under my sock and turning a deep shade of purple. As my next shift started in less than 12 hours and we were short-staffed as it is, I didn't want to call in sick, but I knew there was no way I'd be able to stand and walk on it for the whole day. I called my manager to explain and to ask if I could either switch to the register for a few days, which involved much less walking than my regular role, or borrowing one of the bar stools to sit on behind the counter so I wasn't putting too much weight on it. I figured this wouldn't be a problem as we had other staff who could cover the floor and there's no issues with access around the register that the chair could get in the way of. I was wrong. My manager insisted that he wouldn't sign off on me having a chair without a signed doctor's note verifying my injury, even after I sent him photos of my wrecked ankle. As my GP was already closed, I headed to the 24-hour walk-in clinic. An x-ray and a lot of poking and prodding later, the doctor told me I had to ice it every few hours until the swelling went down, which took almost a week, and keep all weight off it for at least a week, and wear a brace for another 2 weeks after that. When I explained what I did for a living, the doctor presented me with a lovely note explaining that I shouldn't be at work at all for at least 7 days. I wish I could have seen my manager's face when I called to explain that I didn't need the chair after all, as actually I wouldn't be in at work for the rest of the week and most of next week. Doctor's orders. And funnily enough, I was never asked to produce a doctor's note again for the rest of the time I worked there. I mean, at the end of the day, the manager got what they asked for, right? You know, he could have shown a little bit of compassion, a little bit of care and said, hey, I'd love for you to go to the doctor, get things checked out, make sure everything's okay, and we'll have a chat about it then. But instead, he had to be rude about it, and now there's 15,500 people who have liked a story about him on Reddit. I guess what they say is true. It sometimes does pay to be nice. So, I drive an 18-wheeler. Not only that, but I own my truck and my business. One day, while I was coming into Laredo, Texas, I was in the turning lane for my exit and this car whips out in front of me. Not really having enough room to stop, I turn onto the shoulder, threw on the air horn, which is extremely loud when you're next to a truck, and stopped right beside the guy. He proceeds to get out of his car with his phone and starts taking pictures of my truck and my plate. By this time, the light had turned green, so I gave him a few short horn honks to basically tell him to get going. He then beats on my door, so I roll my windows down and he starts screaming about how his ears are hurting now and how I'm damaging his ability to hear. He demands that I give him my boss's number and my driver's license number so he can call it in and report me and have my job for this. And he then proceeds to move his car to the shoulder and backs so close to my bumper that I couldn't get around him. I kind of smirked at him and told him that he didn't want to speak to my boss because he's a short-tempered man and he wouldn't like what my boss would have to say about the issue. But he insisted that he speaks to my boss. I also told him that if he wanted to call me in, all he'd need was the numbers on the side of my truck since it's assigned to me. Considering I only own one truck, you can imagine what I would assign my truck number to be. I gave him my cell phone number and watched as he laughed while speaking each number as he dialed. I see his number pop up on my phone mounted to the windshield, but he couldn't see it from his angle and tried to hold in my laughter. I let it ring for a minute and he's getting impatient. The whole time, traffic is going around us. I finally pick up the phone and answer it. Trucking transport company, how can I help? And his face turns beet red. He proceeds to yell at me some more and tells me that this isn't over because now he has my number. But yeah, so do about 100,000 other people. So what? A week later, I get a phone call from a number that I didn't have saved in my phone. I'd forgotten about the incident but thought it might be a broker or a customer. I answer the phone and this lady chirps up. Turns out it was his mother and she wanted monetary compensation for her son's troubles. I asked her if she even knew what had happened and she tells me some story about how his bumper was damaged by my truck and that he was scared to talk to me because me driving an 18-wheeler was intimidating to him. Being a smart owner, I have a camera in my truck and I dump all of my truck's footage onto my hard drive. So I asked her if she could receive videos over email. She said sure, but she wasn't sure what I was about to send her. I spent a minute or two looking through the hard drive on my laptop and find the video of the incident and send it to her. While still on the phone, I can hear the audio playing as she watched it. Her tone changed in an instant and I heard her put the phone down and all hell broke loose in that house. There was Spanish screaming, things being thrown, and Lord knows what else going on. It reminded me of that movie A Christmas Story when Ralphie's mum calls the lady about the curse words and hears the apocalypse on the phone. Yeah, it was kind of like that, but in Spanish. She then comes back to me and very kindly asks for 2 things. 1, she asks that I forget she called and acts as if this never happened because she was embarrassed to no end. And 2, she asked if I could delete the video of her son's idiocy. I told her that number 1 was fine, I could do that. But as far as number 2, I would not delete the footage. But the only way anyone other than me or her would see it is if it was needed for a court case. She bid me good day and hung up the phone. I can just imagine the smug look on the son's face when he thought that his mum was going to get monetary compensation for his troubles. When I first read that the mother was calling, I thought we were in for another episode of Entitled Parents. But to see this dude get a little bit of revenge through some malicious compliance, that really made my day. So this happened a few years ago when I used to work at a bookstore where we brought books, movies and more from people and sold them for roughly half price or less. After working there roughly a year, I got pretty good at buying things from the public and could go quickly and usually be pretty on point with my offer. So on this fateful day, a lady comes in carrying a box of books and we will call her the trash lady, or TL for short. She came in and the box had water damage and the books looked torn and rough. I looked at her and before I could speak she goes, "I know what they are worth, and I want a fair price. I have a lot more." She grabs a cart and runs out the door. It is our policy that if we see water damage or a thin black dust, we don't touch the box, we offer a quarter for the entire buy because it's going to be recycled because water damage molds easily and roach poop is hazardous. So Trash Lady brings in 2 carts of books and a few movies, all of them with clear water damage and roach poop. I call her up to the counter and the conversation goes as follows. Me equals M and manager on duty equals MOD. I say to her, "Hey, thanks for bringing everything in. We can offer 25 cents because of the condition." She then says, "A-hole, you didn't even look at my boxes. I want your manager now." So I say, "I will call them up here, but just so you know, this black dust is roach droppings and water damage and possible mold on the boxes." And then she says, "You just don't want to do your job. Call your manager now." I call the manager expecting them to have my side. They do not. They tell me that I should just go ahead and do the buy as normal and pull the books outside of the boxes and try to find something. This is when malicious compliance comes in. I tell my manager I'll do it and I grab gloves and a mask and proceed to take every book out of the boxes and inspect every book as per our policy. We also require the customers to remain in the bookstore while we have their books. So Trash Lady is watching me the entire 2 hours as I inspect their destroyed books. Other people came in with actual things to sell, but were quickly discouraged because the wait was so long since I had a huge trash buy, meaning we lost books that would actually bring us money. So cut to 2 hours later, I've covered the entire counter in books and sorted it into piles. I then call my manager on duty up and the lady and tell her the piles. I say to them, "So this pile on the left is all the books with extreme water damage with no mold. This pile is the moldy books and this third pile is books coated in roach poop. As for the DVDs I found scattered in the boxes, they were all scratched beyond usage, so we can offer you nothing." As expected, the trash lady freaks out and starts yelling and demanding money. My manager on duty is staring at me and I look at him and say, "Our policy states we do not have to offer any money if it's proven that nothing in the boxes are usable by the store." The manager on duty finally takes my side and Trash Lady storms out of the store, leaving the mess. I loaded the books on a cart and recycled everything, then cleaned the counter several times. My compliance cost almost 3 hours of us not buying profitable books and I got paid to knowingly waste people's time. As far as the story so far in this episode, I actually think this is the best one in terms of malicious compliance. Not only did this person get back at the trash lady who was quite frankly a choosing beggar, but he also got back at his manager who was just downright wasting everyone's time. This definitely deserves more than 1.2k upvotes. I was in Subway earlier this week for lunch and had a guy ordering a couple of subs in front of me. The first 2 subs are nothing special, but he is looking at his phone and talking on his Bluetooth in between customizing his first 2, so he's sort of inattentive. For the last sub, he just says, "Put everything on it," and walks towards the cash register to wait. The employee confirms a couple of the ingredients with him that people don't usually get, saying things like onions 2, both giardiniera and jalapenos, and he doesn't even look at what she's doing, but calls out in an annoyed tone, "If it's on the line, put it on the sandwich," before he goes back to his Bluetooth conversation. She looks annoyed, but tops off the rest of the veggies and then moves to the sauce. Without even thinking, maybe she was tired, maybe she just didn't care, she proceeds to take each sauce and put one serving of each across the whole sandwich. Bluetooth guy doesn't notice what is going on, and since Subway has like 8 different sauces, the sandwich is starting to look like a sloppy mess considering all the toppings and what probably is half a cup of sauce. She finished it off with vinaigrette and oil just to mess up the bread even more before wrapping it and sending him on his way. He left with them all, so I have no idea what his reaction was or if he came back to complain. But I guarantee he, or whoever that sandwich was for, would have had to eat it with a knife and fork because there was no way the bread would hold up all that liquid. I just wish that these people who were smart enough to do these types of things to people would come out when it comes to entitled parents. If he did come back in to complain, I would have loved to be the employee who dealt with this because quite frankly, he probably would have been too busy on his Bluetooth to even care. Maybe next time pay attention to your server when you're at any kind of restaurant. Alright everyone, that is that for today's episode of Malicious Compliance. I just want to start off by saying thank you so much for watching and I hope you enjoyed the video. I didn't really think I would be saying this anytime soon, but thank you so much for 100,000 subscribers. Unfortunately, I was asleep when it happened. It was something that I wanted to take a screenshot of so badly, but to wake up to 100,000 subscribers is probably one of the most amazing things that's ever happened to me. Thank you to every single one of you from number 1 to number 100,000. I appreciate you all and I cannot express that enough. A lot of you have been asking if I have other social medias. Feel free to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. They both have exactly the same name, so it's just Bumfris for both of them and I'd love to see you there. But otherwise, that is going to wrap things up for today's video. I just want to say again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're all having a fantastic day, and I'll see you all tomorrow for some more Entitled Parents. Bye.